Hi there, welcome to Terrorland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Cancer energy. And like usual, we're going to do two rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Cancer energy. The bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Cancer energy. The bottom row can represent our fears or insecurities. It can also represent our comfort zone. It can also represent some people in your life who you think are kind of shadowy. Shadowy Cancer can just be shadowy energy in general. Immature, prideful, defensive, egotistical, bossy, controlling, self-indulgent, but and everybody's at different kind of, you've either kind of emotionally grown yourself in your Cancer energy, which is about love of self and love of others, and love is to be just and fair, and you're supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated. And some people could still not be there, and they could still just emotionally love themselves or things of the world that they like to indulge in, or making their life just more about the world, not as motivated and inspired by love. They might think that, with love you could get hurt, so some people don't want to authentically do love, and could feel they could just use their emotions more manipulatively in a relationship, or use other aspects about themselves to try to manipulate people to be in a relationship, maybe using things of the world. So everybody taps into Cancer energy. It's a collective reading, so we're going to cover kind of a lot of topics. The reason for the top row's reading is the Three of Swords, which is Libra energy, represented by the Scales of Justice. In high vibe, it means people... It comes after the Two of Swords, and the Two of Swords can be like, what is my truth? Am I more motivated by love? Am I more motivated to be about me or defensive or about the world? And high vibe people got clear about their truth. And they probably went through some life experiences with people to help them get more clear about their truth, that love is supposed to be just and fair. And if it's a romantic relationship, it should be based on love, not these other reasons. But it's also the reason why the reading came out. And so you could have dealt with someone, some of you could have been dealing with a Libra, but you could have dealt with people who, you thought they had kind of learned those lessons and thought that way too, and were more just and fair, were motivated and inspired by love, and you could have found out they kind of have a different idea of what they think is just and fair. And so with some of those people in your life, you could have, the reason for the bottom row's reading is you felt unloved. You didn't really feel like people were working with you cooperatively from love. And because of that, you could have decided to take that cup of love yourself to see the truth, and the truth sets you free. And for a long time, you could have been in the Two of Swords energy and trying to offer love and encouragement to other people to work together with you in a just and fair and loving way. And eventually you kind of realize that's kind of not their truth. Either they don't want to do love, or they like to try to emotionally manipulate people to get them to do what they want. And you didn't think that was just and fair. So then we have the Empress and the Knight of Swords, the Magician, and the Nine of Swords. So the Empress is Libra and Taurus energy. It's like being in an energy of love, maintaining balance within yourself, but standing up for your truth. Taurus can be about our philosophy of life, and it's like, I don't think this is just and fair. I feel like people maybe are trying to emotionally manipulate me, or they're in it for the wrong reasons. So emotionally, the queens, the feminine figures, can talk about how we think or feel. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. The masculine cards can represent how you're presenting yourself in the world and action that you're taking, whether you're male or female. But we can all present ourselves. Here we have the Knight of Swords, and the Knight of Swords is kind of sent by the King and Queen of Swords, which is about, it's Libra and Aquarius energy. This is what I think is just and fair. These are my dreams. This is how I view life. This is my truth. And you're standing up for your truth, and you could have been in relationships with some people, again, in their Libra Taurus energy, and Their maybe Knight of Swords energy of what they think is just and fair and their idea of the dream life, just realizing it was different. And in the Magician card, again, you could have felt like people can want to be in friendship or relationship with you, but you don't think they've maybe learned some of these lessons in life. That in high vibe Gemini and high vibe Virgo of the Magician, it's supposed to be working together with people in truth and love. And in the Nine of Swords, which is Gemini energy again, Gemini talks about our dualistic nature. Are you more motivated by you or these things of the world? Or are you more motivated to align with taking action in your life? You know, it's high vibe energy represented here by the Three of Swords in this case. It's supposed to be just and fair and balanced. Do we all want some of these things of the world? Do we all want friendship and relationship and have a job? Yeah. But it's supposed to be in high vibe Gemini aligned with truth and love. But some people in their Gemini energy are more about themselves, or shadowy Libra Taurus in the Empress can be, they're more emotionally invested in being about themselves for the things of the world. Status, ego, image, and that can be their truth. And eventually you kind of saw through the illusion. You know, anybody can present themselves in the world. I would kind of view these as two masculine cards, which again, male or female, people are presenting themselves in the world like they're these just and fair, authentic people motivated and inspired by love. And they try to present themselves as more high vibe, but they're not. They're really kind of more shadowy. And they could just try to get people in a relationship with them to create this illusion. You know, it's good for their ego and image if they're in a relationship with people who really are more just and fair and authentic and loving, because then it makes them look like they're that type of person. But eventually, if it's a more mismatched relationship, eventually the high vibe people are trying to move the relationship forward. You know, for there to be equal give and take, that is just and fair, move things forward to bring justice to the situation. And the other people keep kind of maybe repeating old patterns. Like, no, this is my truth. No, we should make it about this. No, we should make it about me. You should not like love and believe in yourself enough. You should be more, maybe even codependent on me. Look to me to be the answer. Like, you have to be in a relationship with me or work here to have your dreams come into reality. And eventually, as people are trying to move things forward in a more balanced way, in truth and love, eventually they see that's like not going to happen. You know, they see through the Magician illusion in your Gemini and Virgo nature of yourself, and your Libra and your Taurus and your this is Gemini also, and your Libra and your Aquarius. You seem to be more liking to live more from your mind than your heart, or have a problem with being more just and fair, or being more authentic and being in the relationship authentically from love. And you want me to stay in it, but I don't think that's just and fair. And when we are in a situation like that, whether you take a job and the people present themselves like, we're these just and fair people, and, you know, your dreams will come into reality here. And then you take it and you realize, oh shit, that's not the truth of who they are. You know, we can speak our truth. And as you already probably did with some of those people, and then as you get out of those relationships, the Empress can talk about you want to give birth to something emotionally that is more aligned with your truth. And so you could communicate to people in your life and people that you know to see if that is their truth or not. And for some of those people, they're like, nope, that's not my truth either. Well, you know, you got to work through all these fears and insecurities and being up in your head about it, and kind of stand up for yourself and your truth and what you want to manifest, and realize that from the Nine of Swords to the Three of Swords, the difference is the Six of Swords, which is this Aquarius energy, which can talk about, our ideas of the dream life and how we view life. Some people, Aquarius, also Gemini, or this is Gemini, this is Libra, and then the difference in between here is the Six of Swords, which is Aquarius. That's the three air signs that you could realize with some people that in your air sign energy of yourself, we all tap into the air signs, Libra, Gemini, Aquarius, of what we think is just and fair, what our dreams are, in our dualistic nature, what we're kind of more motivated and inspired by. And we could realize we harness those differently with some people. They, in their air sign energy and their philosophy of life, of what they think is just and fair, could be to live more from their mind than their heart. Don't really want to do love. Aren't kind of balanced within themselves to kind of want these things of the world, but also be willing to do love. They're tipped in favor of, no, don't want to do love, because the Four of Cups is ignoring that cup of love. And then it can be, again, just to use your emotions more manipulatively in a relationship. And you could feel like some people, are more strategic, living more from their mind than their heart. I know, I have an idea. I'll try to present myself as a more just, fair, stable, grounded, loving person, motivated and inspired by love. But then you get in a relationship with them and you find out, that's not the truth. So letting go of the Six of Swords, realizing that your dream can't come into reality with those people, because your dream can only come into reality with other people who are more balanced within themselves, have learned these lessons in life, that their truth is, I see the truth. I need to get more balance within myself, maintain balance within myself where I'm not indulging poor behavior in myself or acting in shadowy ways and kind of thinking people should indulge me. That's like shadowy empress as male or female, someone who emotionally kind of wants to be indulged in the relationship in some way. And that's not just and fair. That's not treating other people the way you like to be treated. They want to maybe be in the friendship or the relationship or have you at that job, but yet they don't want to treat you the way they like to be treated. And they kind of think it should be a little bit more about them being indulged. And so you realize your dream can't come into reality with them. And you see the truth. My dream can only come into reality with people who are motivated and inspired within themselves in their philosophy of life. That's like Taurus. They see this truth. It's about acting with character and integrity. And if you're going to be in a romantic relationship, it should be because of love. But if they don't want to do love to begin with, then it's kind of like committing fraud in a relationship. I'm just going to present myself like I am motivated by love. Oh, but I don't really do love. And then it can seem like people are just indulging in a relationship with you. But the relationship kind of can't grow and mature itself because they don't really invest more in, maybe they're more emotional to connect in with themselves emotionally because they could like to live more from their mind than their heart. So you see the truth, you close out a cycle, you work through your own fears and insecurities of letting go of that dream to go get the justice you deserve. And, communicating with people, getting to know people, being just and fair and loving, treating other people the way you like to be treated. And there'll be some people who are willing to move forward with you in that way. They might have their own fears and insecurities of people they've known who acted more just and fair and loving, but who weren't. But as you keep in high vibe Taurus, walking your talk and treating people in a just and fair way, not indulging in some kind of poor behavior of being manipulative or bossy or controlling or egotistical or whatever, some of those people will work through maybe some of their fears. And you probably already have people moving forward with you in your life who do work together with you in that way. It's just that some other people in your life might not. And eventually there can come a time where it's like, I can't keep staying in denial of the truth, that shadowy energy, and that was the Two of Swords. There can be people who at one time you could have viewed as more just and fair and loving. And you kind of worked through the illusions that you had about those people in The Magician. I don't really think that's their truth. People who are inspired to work together with people in a more just and fair way do. People who are motivated and inspired by love are loving. People who are inspired to treat other people the way they like to be treated do. But again, we could have. Sometimes the Empress can be like, we're looking for someone to love us because we maybe haven't learned to love ourselves. And learning to love yourself can take decades, and we've got to go on this journey of life to come in contact with all these different people to help us get more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. And you could have met some people who you kind of felt you were on the same page and thought this dream was going to come into reality, that you were going to get justice. But you could have been kind of in more defensive of loving and believing in yourself and maintaining balance within yourself. So you could have gotten in a more imbalanced relationship where you were kind of indulging in people in some poor behavior, or because there was some of these things of the world that for the first 30 to 50 years of our life, we want to manifest, and we can kind of hope that everything will work out the way we want. And things can work out for quite a long time, but then it can get to be where we kind of see at a core foundational level that our truth is different. And we don't want to feel manipulated in a relationship. We don't want to be in a more imbalanced relationship. We want a more just and fair and balanced relationship. So, what are some of the fears that people have to work through as they're trying to navigate a situation like that, and as they move forward, getting to know other people? Well, for one, the people who already did that had to detach from harnessing this energy in a more worldly, shadowy way, because that would kind of keep them in those same type of relationship dynamics. And it could have been something they weren't seeing the truth of before, but now they have. The Six of Cups in reverse. Well, the Six of Cups is Scorpio energy, which can talk about exploring the mysteries of life emotionally and having deep, meaningful relationships. And we're emotionally complex human beings. We first need to get connected in ourself emotionally. And we're really complex, we can think a lot of different things and feel a lot of different things. I hate them, I love them, I don't ever want to talk to them, I hope they call me tomorrow, kind of things, And some people could have found it really confusing at some point in time in their life, and they could have just decided, I don't think the high vibe people, but the other people could have decided, no, I don't want to do more deep, meaningful relationships or even connect in with myself emotionally to understand why I just kind of want to bury my emotional nature more under the surface, is what a more shadowy Scorpio can be. And it also can be to decide, you know what? I think love isn't what it's cracked up to be. I could just get hurt doing that. That's confusing. And then a more shadowy Scorpio can be being more emotionally shallow and superficial. And I think I'll be happy making my life about things I indulge in, or being more about me, or making my life about these things of the world. And of course, if there's some people in the world who feel that way, they're probably not going to tell people that. Oh, by the way, I don't really want to do love. By the way, I'm kind of more about these things myself, or these things of the world, and I am kind of more superficial and shallow. And then people get in a relationship with them and they feel like, in the Four of Cups talks about feeling like you're missing an opportunity in love. Though you could have love for them, if they don't work together with you from a foundation of truth and love, then it's kind of like the illusion of love. And it does seem kind of more superficial and shallow. And we can all have these lessons to learn in life, come in contact with all these different people, that everybody in their dualistic nature has their free will to live their life the way they want to live it, and some people aren't telling the truth about the truth of how they like to live their life, and they could try to present themselves and create this illusion that they're more motivated and inspired to be more just and fair and be more balanced and more balanced within themselves, and but really they're more tipped out of balance, and they're really more about themselves or these things of the world. So you cut some of those people out of your life, and you're standing up for yourself because you want to manifest with people who are more aligned with your truth. And so in the Page of Swords, which can represent all three of the air signs, you closed out a cycle with people who, in their Aquarius energy of self and all three of their air sign energies of themselves, have made that choice to be defensive to love, basically. And in the Eight of Wands, to be inspired to like free yourself from a situation where you felt like people weren't being truthful, weren't being honest, might want to be in the relationship or have you stay at the job, but it's not balanced. It's like having a job, but people are kind of more defensive to being more just and fair and willing to get out of their ego nature because they're defensive to maybe getting out of their ego, whatever it is that kind of manipulates them, which could be their truth is they're more about the world and looking like a shining star in the world, or it being more about them. And that's what they defend. That is their truth. That's what they think is just and fair. But they could be looking for other people in the Three of Pentacles to work together with them in a relationship. And maybe people who they think haven't learned to love themselves, maybe just like them. And that you'll get in a relationship and stay in a relationship more because by worldly standards, it looks like victorious and successful, like you have justice in the world in a worldly sense, but not really making that more important than love. And some people can get in those relationships, they don't realize that the other people are more motivated to get in a relationship and stay in a relationship for those reasons, and that they really don't want to manifest from truth and love. And that's when the other people kind of have to stand up for themselves and free themselves, because the Three of Pentacles is Capricorn energy, and shadowy Capricorn is the devil. You know, in our dualistic nature, and for the first 30, 50 years of our life, we're going to have a lot of people that we get in friendship and relationship with when we were all kind of more motivated and inspired by these things of the world, even though some people were motivated and inspired by love. Again, there's a lot of things in the world, the truth of the world, of these things, and Aquarius energy, again, being like about our dreams that we have. There's these things I want to give birth to in the world. I am looking to get in friendship and relationship with people to manifest those things. And we can get in some more mismatched relationships that, you know, we don't realize till later. And then when we do realize it, you know, some people can kind of really be up in their head about it, about getting out of it. And that for a long time, in the Seven of Wands, people can be defensive to getting out of it. And that can be just your fear of loving and believing in yourself and standing up for your truth and knowing that if you do that, that some people in their life then will turn their back to you. You know, if you're motivated and inspired to free yourself from this way of living life or viewing life or viewpoint of life, and you want to go do that, that's not my truth. I'm going to do this. And so for a long time, people can be loving and encouraging to people, trying to work together with them, trying to bring justice to the situation. But we can only do that. We can't make other people get inspired within themselves to free themselves from things that could manipulate them as to why they don't do love. Why aren't they willing to be more just and fair? Why do they maybe want to live more from their mind than their heart? And eventually we see the truth that they have their truth and they have the free will to live their life the way they want it, that makes them maybe feel stable and balanced within themselves and at peace within themselves. You know, they have a different idea of how they view life that they think is just and fair. And we kind of realize that I can't stay here. Does it have a lot of these things of the world? And could I have love for you? And I'd like it to work out, but I see it's not. You know, the Seven of Wands can usually be defensive, like I'm defending this way of living life. I do not want to free myself from things or my more worldly viewpoint of life or being more about myself. I don't want to take that cup of love. And then it can be, I think you won't love and believe in yourself to stand up for yourself to get the justice you deserve. And eventually people do. And everybody can feel betrayed. Everybody can feel kind of heartbroken. But when we're in relationship with people, we have the free will to work with them more cooperatively in a more just and fair way or not. Now, another thing for some people, you might have had some more shadowy people in your life. Shadowy Scorpio can be where people are kind of defensive. And again, if they're more defensive and they know they kind of create an illusion in a relationship and they know they're kind of more in it for these ulterior purposes or more just about how it benefits them, they can be very distrustful of other people because they know they're kind of being deceptive. And when they maybe get up in their head, instead of having learned this lesson to have some hope and faith and belief in themselves and in others, and be inspired to work together with people, offer them love, be more just and fair, to work through things, they haven't learned that lesson yet. So they could go repeat some past patterns that they kind of think are just and fair that other people could view as immature, and that can be, again, kind of being manipulative, being deceptive. That's shadowy Aquarius energy, is being like deceptive and manipulative. But they also could act like a private detective in a relationship, in order, like, not willing to listen to their intuition and love and work together with people more cooperatively. They think it's just and fair to try to get the answers, Scorpio trying to explore the mysteries of life in some immature ways, like kind of being deceptive and manipulative and acting like a private detective in a relationship. And because of that, some of those relationships ended because people felt betrayed. And some of the people who at one time used to view them as a more just and fair person and defend them kind of got up in their head and were heartbroken and had to stand up for themselves. And it's like, there was other ways. We have free will. There was other ways to go about getting information, and one is to kind of listen to your intuition, and one is to communicate with people. The swords can talk about communicating. The pentacles can be about working together with people and offering love to yourself and the situation. And some people didn't choose to do that. And that can be people who kind of indulge your more immature nature. And for other people, you could have gotten in a more mismatched relationship, and that really wasn't their truth. They are more wanting to be in a relationship, maybe where it's more about them. And some of those people are looking for someone to be like a mother figure to them, whether they're male or female. I don't want the world can talk about learning lessons. I don't think I should have to learn any lessons. They maybe had people in their life at different times in their life who indulged them in more poor behavior, but they indulge themselves in poor behavior, and they think it's just and fair. And so it's looking for other people, maybe other people who feel betrayed, other people who could be up in their head, other people who've been heartbroken, to try to get those people to get in a relationship with them and buy into the illusion of who they are. And those people, have lessons learned from people like this. And then those people will have to decide at some point in time, when they start to see that people don't really work together with them more cooperatively in love and in a more just and fair way, and they kind of think it's just and fair to be more about them, if they're going to stay in it. It's just that other people have already decided to move on from those jobs, friendships, or relationships. So, what's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Cancer energy, who have accepted the truth that in a world of duality, probably 50% of the people at any given moment aren't motivated by truth and love. It's all these other reasons of why they want to be in friendship or relationship. Good for their ego or their image, or to have sex, or try to manipulate someone else. The people who've seen the truth of stuff like that, who are moving forward in their life, what's coming up for them they might not see coming? They are maintaining balance within themselves. They are standing up for themselves. They are taking action in their truth, treating other people the way they like to be treated, to get justice in the world. The Emperor, and a card not showing itself, and the reason is because of the Two of Wands. So the Two of Wands, kind of like Aquarius, can be that we have this dream we want to bring into reality. But instead of living more from your mind than your heart, in your fire sign nature, both the Two of Wands and the Emperor is Aries energy, you're more inspired for justice and fairness and balance. Do you want some of these things in the world just like other people? Yes. But it has to be just and fair and based on truth and love. And because you had that dream, you made this decision to stand up for yourself and to make good decisions in your life. And the Emperor is a counterpart to the Empress. And so, wanting to be in relationships with other people who, high vibe Empress and high vibe Emperor is where you've kind of learned all these lessons about the four suits of the deck, and learned that all four of the aspects of ourself, our heart, our mind, our 3D nature, our creative passionate nature, they're all equally important. And when we kind of let our heart run our life, or let the world run our life, or our more immature nature, our passionate nature, or our mind, or our fear, it kind of threw our life out of balance. And that takes time. It's like learning all the lessons of the queens and learning all the lessons of the kings, and wanting to be in a relationship with other people who are more of a true counterpart. And you could have been in a relationship with some people who try to present themselves as more like they're that type of person. But that's just kind of like an idea that they had. But they really could be quite immature and quite defensive. But this is how they think. Isn't it just to go out in the world and create an illusion like you've learned these lessons just like other people in the world? No, because other people really have learned those lessons. And eventually, if they try to get in more mismatched relationships, eventually, or get at a job that they're really not qualified for, people can buy into the illusion, and people can be loving and encouraging and supportive, but eventually people can't keep staying in denial of the truth that this isn't moving forward the way I thought it was going to move forward. Like it would move forward if you really had learned these lessons in life and kind of were who you tried to present yourself as being. And so, because of that, people could see you doing that, and other people can see you doing that. What some people don't know, and maybe some of the people in your life that are more shadowy, because again, shadowy energy can be where people, it's like a strategy. Just present yourself this way, act this way, do this, do that, so people view you a certain way. So some of the shadowy people in your life could think you're putting on a really good show, because that's what they do. It's more putting on a show in the world, because you look like the emperor and the empress and have justice and fairness and manifesting new beginnings. So they could think you're really looking like a boss in the world. But they could just think you're putting on a show. You're just trying to create an illusion about the truth of who you are, because that's what they do. But what they don't know is you really were inspired within yourself to love yourself, get balance within yourself, do this inner work to work through your fears and insecurities and self-limiting beliefs, to detach from being more inspired by this worldly dream, to get the justice you deserve and less manipulated by your ego and your fear and lust and greed and all those things and creating an illusion. And what they don't know about you is you have seen the truth of how you could have harnessed this energy in a more worldly, shadowy way again. And because you also, because there's these things of the world that we want to manifest. Scorpio can be that we weren't really listening to our intuition, but we also could have been caught up in more of the superficial and shallow and just thought, oh, it'll all work out. And we didn't really listen to our intuition, because we could have been up in our head because we wanted to manifest these certain things in our life. And we were just hoping everything would work out. And when you detach from harnessing this energy in a more worldly, shadowy way, you are willing to detach from the people in your life that are, to some degree, harness that energy in a more worldly, shadowy way too. And that's what could have drawn you into a relationship and made you stay in it for as long as you did. But you harness it now in a more high vibrational way. And that's the Five of Cups. And the Five of Pentacles. And the Five of Pentacles is Taurus energy. You have a different philosophy of life. And also what they didn't know about you is in your Scorpio energy, you are more motivated by deep, meaningful relationships. And they could have thought you weren't, and that you would be more caught up in them or these things of the world because they're more caught up in those things of the world. But those things don't manipulate you the way it manipulates them. Could you have wanted to manifest these things in the world? Could you have gone through betrayal and had to learn to love yourself just like they could have? It's just that you have a different philosophy of life, of what you think is just and fair, kind of what drives and motivates you. Yours is truth and love, and theirs could be more caught up in the world, a more shadowy Taurus energy. And you now harness a more high vibrational Taurus energy. And what some people still think that they're manipulating you. They don't know that you've moved on. The Five of Pentacles moves away from a Four of Pentacles, a foundation we have been holding on to, because you kind of saw the truth of it. I felt left out in the cold and unloved and betrayed in that relationship. And as I stood up for my truth and took action on my truth, and I probably see them repeating old patterns, not willing to speak the truth, not willing to work together cooperatively from love, I kind of see through the illusion that, shadowy Taurus can be a little stubborn, a little more prideful, more caught up in the world about ego and image and status and money and materialism, and kind of disconnected from being more balanced with their more emotionally intuitive, loving nature. And you could have been more disconnected. And you, again, for the first 30 to 50 years, were pretty in our Five of Pentacles, Taurus nature. There's all these things in the world we want to manifest. And we could have thought those things would make us happy, and that would be like our dream life. And then we could have went and pursued those things, and we could have had those things. And then it's kind of realizing that, but if there isn't love, there's a Bible verse, something like that they read at weddings. If I have like all these things in the world, but I don't have love, it's like a resounding gong. It's like I could have a job, but if I have a job that I don't love, every day going there is really hard. And if I'm in friendships and relationships with people who I don't think are more just or fair or loving or encouraging or defensive, why am I doing this? And you're balanced within yourself. You're having a new beginning. You're manifesting a new beginning. You're not putting on a show. And some people could still think, oh, you in turn are just trying to manipulate them. It's like, no, you do you, and I'm going to move on with my life to go get the justice I deserve. And as you're doing that, and you're not repeating poor past patterns, other people can see you doing that, and other people want to be in friendship and relationship with you. There could have been people who weren't in relationship with you when you could have been in relationship with someone else, and they also could have not wanted to get in relationship with you while you were doing this work within yourself. And then when they see that you seem to have moved on, seem to be at peace within yourself, giving birth to something new, not offering love to this, that's when some of those people don't want to be out in the cold from you anymore, and they want to be in a relationship with you because they view you as someone they can get justice from. And some of the people that are currently in your life are on that same page as you, and you are loving and encouraging and inspiring to each other to keep working through your fears and insecurities, and to encourage each other to kind of grow and mature yourself to your full potential and get the justice you deserve. What's coming up for people who might harness a more worldly, shadowy Cancer energy that they might not see coming? The Three of Wands. Why? Because of the Six of Pentacles in reverse and the Cup of Love. Well, for the people who didn't want to do love anyway, again, willing to let those relationships go because that's not what they want to manifest. So they don't want to exchange resources with people who are more motivated by love. That's not their idea of the dream life, because again, it could be more about wanting it to be more about them, and people who do love want them to be more just and fair and balanced and not more about themselves, because the Three of Wands is Aries energy, just like up here, so you harness your Aries energy differently. They want it to be more about themselves. They're sure that things are going to work out the way that they want. I just don't think it'll work out the way that they think. If they're not willing to do love, and when they're in relationships with people who are being just and fair and loving and encouraging, trying to work together with them, but they don't want to have to learn lessons in life, or they don't want to do love because you get hurt doing love and they've been hurt before, so they just want to make it more about them or these things of the world. I think ultimately they're going to find themselves in relationships with other people who are defensive to love. And that's fine. if they want to be in a relationship with someone else who is more about being in a relationship more for the status, the image, the stability, the security, and they don't want to detach from their more worldly view of life, because again, the Six of Pentacles is Taurus energy. They could just be people who are just more inspired by the world and looking like a shining star in the world, and that's their truth. But of course, they don't want people to know that that is more what drives and motivates them, probably. But as they keep taking action in their life, more rejecting loving people where they could be in more just and fair relationships, because they either want it to be more about themselves, or they want more status, more image, more money. I just think they'll be more surrounded by other people who are happy they're in that energy, because they are too. And so, could it look really victorious and successful by worldly standards? Yeah. It just won't be being in a relationship because of love. It can look like love, it can quack like love, you can have sex, you can enjoy each other's company, and that would be a just and fair relationship. I don't want to do love, they don't want to do love, but we want to be in a relationship. It's good for our ego and image. I like them, they like me. It's just that we don't really want to do love. We would rather, this makes practical, logical sense, living more from our mind than our heart. And I want to be in a relationship, maybe fire sign energy. I want to be in a relationship to have someone to have sex with, but I don't want to do a deep, meaningful relationship. And so long as the other people are okay with that, then they could be happy with it. It's just that if they try to hide from the world that that is the truth of who they are, you know, you can hide the truth from people for some of the time, but probably 50% of the people are going to see the truth. This isn't because of love, and that might bother them because they want people to view them like they are this more balanced person and not more about themselves or these things of the world. But there's always going to be other people who kind of maybe don't want to be in friendship and relationship with them, because they kind of see that it is more superficial and shallow. Like, look how wonderful our life is. But other people, it's like, I'd rather go hang out with people who I do think are more inspired by truth and love and are in relationships because of that, and are being maybe more authentic and not wanting to be in friendship or relationship for the status or the ego or the image and all those things. And they might not see that coming, that some people in their life who also maybe hadn't wanted to see the truth of them being loving and encouraging and supportive, eventually some of those people are like, I don't want to invest in this anymore. It seems like it's all about these other things, and I don't think it's authentic, basically. And they might be surprised that other people in the world who also maybe have, high vibe people have status and image and are attractive and charming, that other people don't use those things to try to manipulate people, even though they could. They're more inspired to be in relationships with people that actually want to be in a relationship with them because of love. And they, in turn, want to be in those kind of relationships. And they could be surprised that some people won't be in relationship with them and be more manipulated by these things. And they could be surprised that other people who could do that aren't doing that. And again, it can be where people just don't understand it. If you're attractive, if you've got money, if you've got status, why aren't you just manipulating people and making it more about you? That's what I do. And it's just because of the way they think. They can't kind of relate because they're so disconnected emotionally and make these things that they make their life about so important. They can't understand why everybody's not doing that. And if you're not doing that, some other people in your life, they could find it confusing. Why aren't you doing that? Why aren't you? And they could have thought you were someone who was doing that. And, some people don't want to see the truth because they have this way of thinking and viewing life and viewing relationships. So again, they think other people think that way, but they have a hard time accepting the truth because then they would have to look at their own ways of viewing life. And then that could kind of get them up in their head and they don't want to see the truth. So they turn their back on the truth and they kind of keep indulging themselves in whatever it is they kind of tell themselves to make themselves feel better, I guess. But some high vibe people aren't going to stay in relationships more for these worldly reasons, and they're going to go get in relationships with other people who didn't want to stay in relationships for these more worldly reasons. And I think a lot of times shadowy people want loving people to be trapped like in a relationship with them. That's the ideal, like for the devil to trap an angel in a relationship with them. But I think they're going to end up being in a relationship with someone like themselves. And if they were thinking they were going to get money from someone to have more status or image in the world, that might not work out. They might be in a relationship, but the person might not be willing to exchange financial resources with them, or that person isn't very balanced. Might want to stay in the relationship, but they could also be very defensive, very harsh, very critical, but they might stay in it more for whatever reasons they stay in it. So there you go, Cancer. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.